business like this, okay? This is the most disgusting way to make money that you've ever... So think of it this way. Every time Bono gets debt relief for a country, or people like him, you know, start paying into the debt or trying to help the country, all the different little acts that people undertake to get the country whole again is undone by one person. At the bottom of the hour, Greg Palast is going to appear on the show to tell you about this guy, to tell you what happened in Zambia, to tell you how this man made his money, and how much he's given Rudy Giuliani of the money he makes off of the poorest people in this world. 17 after.
Randi Rhodes, the woman that Karl Rove secretly wishes he could be. This is Air America Radio. Where else do you expect the most progressive talk format to reside? Air America.
All right. So Greg Palast is in the studio. You all know Greg Palast. He is the author of a lot of really great books, Best Democracy Money Can Buy, and Our Madhouse, which is always right here in my drawer. There it is, Our Madhouse.
In your drawers?
Yeah, right there.
That's not nice.
Yes, it is.
No, I thought you said in your drawers.
Oh, I don't have drawers.
Oh, okay. Ooh.
No. No, it's steamy. It's New York. Anyway, he just broke a story about Vulture Funds.
That's right.
And we were explaining to you that Vulture Funds, Vulture investment, is one of the most disgusting, perverse ways to make money.
And it's not exactly legal either. But let me tell you something. After we have, you know, the great American hero, John Conyers. He's listening to my BBC broadcast, as he always does, and he follows my reports, and he's reading our
We all do.
And he was listening in the car, and he just got so steamed, he went right to the White House. I kid you not, went to the Oval Office and said, I have to speak to the president. And he said, listen, your cronies are sucking up the billions of dollars that we have voted on for debt relief for Africa. And George gave him, you know, little George gave him that, like, I was, you know, missing from school that day. I don't know what you're talking about. And so then he laid it out. He said, look, here's what happens. We have now voted billions of dollars for relief for Africa, specifically to buy AIDS medicine. Your guys are sucking up about half of it. Your guys, meaning your big donors, have figured out a way to tap in. You didn't tell us that. You can say you don't know. Now you know. What are you going to do about it? Because you can stop it. You have to understand, Conyers is an attorney.
Yeah.
Okay? And before he was chairman of a committee, and he, by the way, we met the other night when I was passing him the material on Tim Griffin. He said, this is even bigger than the prosecutor case, because this is stealing money from kids who are dying, literally taking the AIDS money from Africa, and Bush can do something about it. He knows it. Now he knows it. He could stop it right this minute with a stroke of a pen. He could say, that money, any U.S. court will back down. That money is not meant for my donors. It is meant as a donation of the American people to people who are suffering in Africa. These guys have figured out how to tap in enough of that. They can say absolutely no, it must stop. He hasn't done it. Conyers wants to know why. And he says if he doesn't, his next hearings, after the prosecutor gate thing is done, which may never be done, but when that's done, he said, vultures are the next thing unless the president does the right thing.
So it's sort of like everything that Live Aid accomplishes, all the money that people like us raise for African debt relief, or for African health care, or for AIDS, medicines, or from anti-malarials, is being undone by these vulture guys.
That's right, and the
can't they do something more reputable, like child porn, or
Yeah, right. I mean, this is what Don Payne, who's a congressman who's head of the Africa Committee, he also spoke directly to the president. He said he and Conyers didn't coordinate. It just happened. He said he heard my report. He did the same thing. He said when he was meeting with the president on something else, he says I couldn't even concentrate on what the president was saying, as if this is a new piece of information. Who can concentrate on what the president? But he says I couldn't concentrate on what the president was saying. But so I had to say, listen, what are you doing about the vultures? And so like now he's getting it from two ends, from Conyers and Payne, and it's like, but he's pretending. And he said, oh, I'll take care of it in a week. You know, the clock is running here, guys. And by the way, Bono feels he's been had, just so you know. He did the little photo op thing.
I mean, he's been very nonpartisan, not bipartisan, just nonpartisan,
That's right.
Thinking whoever's going to help with debt relief in Africa, who's ever going to get the AIDS medicine over there, who's ever going to do the anti-malarial thing, who's ever going to save lives, who's ever going to educate, that's a good person, I don't care what, And here's Bono doing these photo ops with George Bush, and everything. It's like George Bush is the anti-Bono.
Yeah.
And he's taking photos with, like the dark side of the force, saying, no, the guy is good on debt relief. The guy is good.
Yeah.
You need to explain, because I only got one chance to explain, and then I played your report. Exactly who this man Sheehan is.
Well, there's a couple guys. There's a guy Sheehan, and then the other vulture is a guy named Paul Singer. Okay, these guys. Okay, Singer is one of the richest men in New York. He's worth several billion. 100% of his big money has all come from his vulture operations. He is the big money behind Rudy Giuliani. And by the way, he owned all the asbestos companies, his operations, and he's the one assigned by Giuliani to, quote, take care of the 9/11 widows whose husbands, the first responders whose husbands have died from asbestos poisoning, etc.
Mesothelioma.
Yeah, and you drown in your own lungs, and anyway, so he's gone on from the drowning in your own lungs business into stealing, literally sucking up the AIDS money, the AIDS medicine money for Africa. Now, how they do it, by the way, not all of it is exactly kosher, because the other thing that John Conyers brought up, he says, we have a law in the United States, Mr. President, when we had a Justice Department, where the Justice Department is supposed to bust people who bribe foreign leaders. What do you think, that they can get suck up this money without hanky-panky? So what happened was, this guy Goldfinger, who calls himself Goldfinger, believe it or not, he made a $2 million payment to, quote, the president's favorite charity. We have his emails, okay? We have his emails, all right?
Greg always gets me.
We got the secret emails where he says he made a $2 million payment. And, of course, the president's favorite charity apparently is